You're not stuck. You just haven't started moving yet. There's something very few people will say to you directly. Your life today is the result of your actions or lack of action up until now. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you're unlucky. And it's definitely not because you lack potential. The truth is, you're not stuck. You're just standing still. Earl Nightingale, a pioneer in the field of personal development, once said we become what we think about all day long. But he also emphasized that thinking is just the beginning. Action is the real power. You can sit for hours making plans. You can read books, listen to podcasts, watch motivational videos. You can write down goals, stick them on the wall, and visualize a better life every day. But if you don't take action, it's all just wishful thinking. Action, even the smallest step, is the key to turning ideas into results, dreams into reality, and the person you are into the person you want to become. No one becomes successful by just sitting and thinking. No one changes their life by faith alone. The world doesn't respond to what you think you'll do. It responds to what you actually do. If you feel stuck, it's not because you lack talent. It's because you're waiting, and that waiting day by day, hour by hour, is quietly killing your dreams. Maybe you're waiting for the perfect moment. Maybe you're waiting for inspiration. Maybe you're waiting until you know for sure. But let me be honest with you, the perfect moment doesn't exist. Inspiration is a double-edged sword, and certainty only comes after you start. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to know the first step and have the courage to take it, because it's through action that the road begins to reveal itself. Earl Nightingale spent his life uncovering a simple truth. If a person knows what they want and works steadily toward it, they will absolutely succeed. No luck needed, no perfection required, just consistent, intentional action. And if you're here reading this right now, I believe you're searching for something. Maybe it's change. Maybe it's a turning point. Or maybe it's just a reminder that it's time to begin. And yes, that time is now. In the journey ahead, you won't just hear inspiring words, but proven truths, timeless life principles used by successful people around the world. Step by step, each lesson will guide you deeper into the law of action, the foundation of all results, all transformation, and all lasting success. You already have everything you need to change. The only thing missing is that first action. And that action can start today. Action, the bridge between potential and reality. Let me ask you one simple but vital question. What's the value of a dream that's never realized? We're living in an age where inspiration is everywhere. You can wake up to motivational quotes, listen to top thinkers, or attend seminars on success and personal growth. But none of that matters if you don't take action. Action, intentional and consistent action, is the bridge between the life you dream of and the life you're currently living. You may have all the potential in the world, and truthfully, many people do. Intelligence, talent, vision. These exist in coffee shops, dorm rooms, living rooms, and corporate offices everywhere. But potential is not power. It is only the possibility of power. Just like a seed is not yet a tree, potential is not yet reality. What turns potential into something you can see, touch, and live is action. After years of studying human behavior and personal success, I've come to a firm conclusion. The difference between those who make it and those who almost made it almost always comes down to action. Not greater intelligence, not better ideas, not stronger connections, but action. Quiet, steady, unwavering action. Picture a bridge. On one side is your current life. On the other side is your ideal life, your goals, aspirations, and definition of success. Between the two is a canyon of uncertainty, fear, and doubt. That bridge isn't built with wishes, not with vision boards or strategic plans. It's built with each step you take. Each early morning you choose to work. Each uncomfortable call you make. Each skill you practice. Each time you choose progress over comfort. There's a myth I see often, especially in America. The idea that we must wait for the right time, that we need to have it all figured out before we start. But clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You don't need to see the whole road. You just need to take one step, then the next. The path will appear as you move. So many people carry the music inside them until the day they die. Not because they lack talent, not because they didn't care, but because they never stepped onto the bridge. They stood at the edge, looked across, and told themselves, one day I'll begin. But that day never came. They had potential. They had dreams, but they didn't have action. Right now, you might be holding on to an idea, a great idea. Maybe it's a business you want to build, a skill you want to master, a life you envision for yourself and your family. That dream deserves to be lived, not just thought about, but moved toward. Action isn't chaos. It's not running wild with no direction. It's focused energy, intentional motion. It's choosing progress over perfection. It's understanding that mistakes are part of the journey and failure isn't the end. It's a lesson. The person who acts, even imperfectly, will always move ahead of the one who waits for perfection. There is power in motion. There's momentum in movement. When you start, something shifts inside you. You prove to yourself that you're not just a dreamer. You're a builder, a creator. And creators are the ones who change the world. This isn't theory. This is truth tested over time. Every great achievement you admire was built step by step, brick by brick. The Wright brothers didn't wait until everything was certain to fly. Edison didn't wait for perfect conditions to invent. Ford didn't wait for permission to revolutionize transportation. They acted. And through action, they found the way. When I was younger, I believed success was for the lucky, those born with special gifts or wealthy parents. But later I discovered something that completely freed me. Success is created through action. Anyone, anywhere with discipline and direction can step onto the bridge toward their future. And here's the magical part. When you begin to take action, even a little, your confidence grows. Your belief in yourself expands. Why? Because action creates evidence. You start to trust in your ability to follow through, to adapt, to overcome. At that point, you're no longer just imagining success. You're living in the process of building it. So if you feel stuck right now, overwhelmed by ideas or paralyzed by uncertainty, remember this. Thinking won't change anything. Planning alone won't build the bridge. Only action will. The first draft, the first phone call, the first focused hour of work. These are the first bricks of the bridge. And once that bridge starts being built, it becomes very hard to stop. The American dream was never meant for the passive. It doesn't belong to those who wait for something to happen. It was built by those who dared to act, who rolled up their sleeves, faced adversity, got criticized, and kept going. You have that power. It doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from action. You don't need to change everything in one day, but you do need to change something today. Prove to yourself that you're serious, not just in your desire, but in your discipline, that you won't live in your head forever, that your dream will no longer gather dust. This world doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you do. If you want to live the life you've imagined, start acting like someone who's already living it. Because identity isn't shaped in thought. It's forged in motion. And today, take that first step. It may be small. You may feel unsure, but it matters. Because every bridge to greatness begins with a single step, and that step is yours. True power doesn't live in your mind. It lives in your actions. There's a common misconception that many smart people fall into. They believe power lies in thinking. That if they just think long enough, deep enough, and strategically enough, success will eventually show up. But that's an illusion. The truth is, the world doesn't reward great ideas unless they're turned into concrete action. Real power doesn't live in your head. It lives in your hands, your feet, your voice, your relentless execution. Someone can sit for hours crafting the perfect plan, But if they never take action, it's nothing more than a lifeless image. What you picture in your mind, if never brought into the physical world, holds no real value. You can't change the world with thoughts that remain locked inside your head. Earl Nightingale once said, "We become what we think about." But he didn't stop there. Throughout his career, he emphasized that thinking is only the beginning. Action is the actualization. Without action, no matter what you think about, you'll stay exactly where you are. Thoughts set the direction, but only action gets you to the destination. Look at truly successful people, not just internet famous, but those who've built something solid with their own hands. They're not always the smartest in the room. They don't all have prestigious degrees or massive startup capital, but they take consistent action. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They don't get stuck in just a little more thinking. They get up and do, despite doubts, despite not having all the answers. Here's something to remember. Perfection doesn't come first, it's shaped during the doing. A brilliant plan doesn't create power. A great speech won't carry you forward. But one sales call, 1 hour of practice every day, one pilot project, one small step taken consistently, that's where power begins to build. We live in an age that glorifies thinking big, and that's great. But if you stop at thinking and never start doing, your career will live only in your imagination. An idea without action is just a fantasy. It's not an asset, it's a burden. The more you think without doing, the more tired you become. You pile up unfinished intentions. And each day that passes without movement makes the idea feel heavier, makes you feel weaker, and eventually you begin to doubt your own ability. But when you act, even if it's just a small step, you reclaim control. You shift from being a thinker to a creator, from an anxious dreamer to an energized doer. And at that moment, you start to accumulate real power, the power of experience, of understanding, of tangible results. Someone might ask, but what if I fail? The answer is, you absolutely will fail. And that's an essential part of power. No one becomes strong without falling, without mistakes, but only those who act gain the priceless lessons life offers. Bystanders don't. An athlete doesn't become great by reading books on sports. They grow strong by sweating on the training field, by losing their early matches, and by showing up again and again. An artist doesn't get recognized just for having a brilliant idea. They stand out because they picked up the brush, painted the first canvas, and then painted 1,000 more. Execution is the living proof of seriousness. When you act, you show the world you're not just talking. You're turning thought into outcome. And through that process, you become powerful, not from the knowledge in your head, but from applying it in the real world. Earl Nightingale often said, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal." And you can't realize anything if you don't act. Thinking is the spark, but action is the fire that keeps burning. So if you're sitting there head full of ideas, but your feet haven't moved, your hands haven't built, your mouth hasn't spoken, stop. Don't think more. Don't draft another plan. Do the first thing. Do it even if you're unsure. Do it even if you're scared. Because that's how you move power from your mind into the world. And only then can you truly call yourself powerful. Clarity doesn't come first. It only appears when you start taking action. One of the biggest misconceptions that stops people from changing their lives is the belief that they must be clear before they begin, that they need to know every step, have a perfect plan, feel 100% ready, and then take action. But you and I both know, if you wait until everything is clear, you'll never start. Clarity is not a prerequisite for action. Clarity is the reward of action. Imagine standing in front of a dark road. You're holding a flashlight, but it only shines 15 feet ahead. You'll never see the entire path until you start walking. And with every step you take, the light moves forward another 15 feet. That's how life works. You will never see the full picture unless you're willing to move forward now. Earl Nightingale once said, "If the average person dedicated 1 hour a day to studying a single subject for 5 years, They would become an expert in it. But how do you know what to study? How do you know which subject is right? The answer doesn't lie in more thinking. It lies in experience. You only discover your path when you start walking it. So many people stay stuck in the thinking trap. They think about switching careers, launching a business, learning a new skill, but they're unsure. And instead of trying something, they keep thinking, questioning, seeking reassurance, waiting for a sign from the universe. What they don't realize is certainty only comes after you begin. You won't figure out what you truly want by sitting around thinking about it. Just like you can't learn to swim by reading books. You have to jump in the water. At first you might flail, but then you learn to float. You learn to kick. You learn to swim. And eventually, through experience, not guesswork, you'll discover what really matters to you. I've met people who spent years getting ready. They read everything, took notes, asked endless questions, but they never did anything, so nothing changed. Meanwhile, others started with just a simple idea. No clear path, no certainty, but they took action, and from that action, they adjusted. They explored, and day by day, they gained clarity. Action creates data. Data creates insight. Insight creates clarity. When you take action, you get feedback from the world. You learn what works and what doesn't. You feel what excites you and what drains you. You adjust your path based on reality, not assumptions. And step by step, you move in the right direction, not because you knew the entire route, but because you started walking. Many people say, I don't feel confident enough. But let me be clear, confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Every time you do something that once scared you, you reinforce trust in yourself. Every task you complete, no matter how small, proves I can do this. And that's where confidence grows. Clarity works the same way. It's not a gift from the sky. It's a result you earn through doing, through experiencing, through failing and trying again. The people who are clear today are not the ones who sat and thought all day. They're the ones who tried, stumbled, stood back up, and found their way by getting lost. So if you're waiting for everything to make sense before you begin, stop waiting. Start. Do the very first thing you can. Send the email. Turn on the camera. Create the account. Write the first line of your book. Record your first video, even if it's clumsy. You don't need to be good to begin. You need to begin to get good. Successful people don't start with certainty. They start with action. They move forward in the fog, and the light appears with each step. And eventually, when they finally reach clarity, they realize they never needed to wait for it in the first place. All they ever needed was the first step. Don't let fear keep you still. Don't let uncertainty paralyze you. Clarity isn't waiting at the end of the road. It lives in every step you're brave enough to take today. If you found this post valuable, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the next deep and inspiring content. The first action you can take today is hitting that subscribe button. You don't need motivation. You need discipline and repetition. One of the most dangerous beliefs you've ever held is that you need to feel motivated before you start doing something. We live in a culture drenched in inspiration, motivational videos, powerful quotes, fiery speeches. We share them, save them, feel fired up for a few minutes, and then do nothing. Because motivation is easy to get and just as easy to lose. And that's the problem. If you rely on motivation, you'll never get far. Earl Nightingale once said, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal, not the most hyped up person, not the one who feels the most motivated every morning, but the one who consistently takes repeated steps, even when the excitement fades." You can't build anything sustainable if you only work on the days you feel like it. Life doesn't reward bursts of emotion. It rewards persistence, discipline, commitment. And that only happens when you understand this truth. Daily repeated action is the only formula that leads to achievement. You can hit the gym with all your energy for one day, but your body won't change if you don't go back. You can study a language all night in a burst of inspiration, but you won't improve if you don't keep showing up. Results don't come from intensity, they come from consistency. That's why discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation is a feeling. It flares up and fades away. Discipline is a decision. It doesn't care if you feel like working today. It only knows this is what must be done, and you do it. Like a habit, like part of who you are. Maybe you're asking, but how can I stay disciplined if no one is pushing me? The answer is, you don't need anyone. You just need a big enough reason. And that reason isn't, I want to make money, or I want to be famous, or even I want to succeed. It's the commitment to yourself, I will not leave this life without living up to my full potential. When you truly understand that time waits for no one, that every passing day is an opportunity you'll never get back, you won't need motivation anymore. You'll just look at the clock and ask, am I closer to my goal today? And if not, you work. No debate. Earl Nightingale never encouraged short-term hype. He emphasized the power of habits. Every repeated action is shaping the person you're becoming. If you wake up and procrastinate, you're becoming a procrastinator. If you focus, do deep work, and fight laziness, you're building a stronger version of yourself. Success isn't magic. It's the result of intentional, repeated actions over time. Look at people who've achieved extraordinary things. Athletes, artists, scientists, entrepreneurs. They're not different from you because they had more motivation. They're different because they worked even when they didn't feel like it. They trained when tired. They tried again after failing. They showed up to the gym in the rain. They kept learning when others quit. And it's that quiet, consistent repetition that builds real strength. If you're asking, how do I start being disciplined? The answer is simple. Start with one small task. Do it every day. Don't skip. Just 1 hour a day focused on one meaningful thing. No inspiration needed. No waiting for the right moment. Just do it. Repeat. Build. Keep your promise to yourself. And over time, you'll realize something powerful. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You create it through your own actions. And soon motivation follows you as a byproduct, not a requirement. When you live with discipline, you're no longer a puppet of your emotions. You're in control of your life. You're not someone who waits for the right time. You're someone who creates the time. And in this competitive world, that's the greatest advantage you can have. So if today you don't feel motivated, that's okay. Act anyway. Because that action is what builds your inner strength. That action is what pushes you forward. That action is what shapes a new version of you. Stronger, more resilient, and unshakable. Fear and procrastination, the silent thieves that kill dreams. There's a greater enemy than failure, and it shows up in nearly everyone's life. It doesn't scream. It's not dramatic. It sneaks in like a whisper disguised as reasonable advice. Just wait a little longer. That enemy is procrastination, and its twin brother, fear. Earl Nightingale once said, "We are not defeated by what happens to us. We are defeated by our reaction to it." And he was right. Most of the time, we don't lose because we lack ability. We lose because we never even start. And the deep reason behind that is we're afraid. We fear failure. We fear judgment. We fear not being good enough. We fear that if we try and fail, we'll have to face the painful truth that we didn't live up to our own expectations. So instead of standing up and fighting, we delay, as if waiting will somehow make it easier. But nothing is more dangerous than procrastination with a reason. Procrastination doesn't kill your dreams with one blow. It kills them with 1,000 tiny cuts day after day. It tells you to wait until Monday to start working out, wait until you have more time to learn a new skill, wait until you have enough capital to start your business. And so you wait and wait until one day you look up and months, maybe years have gone by, and you're still in the same place, Fear isn't something you eliminate by thinking about it. Fear only shrinks when you take action. You can't wait for fear to disappear before you start. You have to start while you're still afraid. And when you do that, you'll discover something powerful. Fear was never as big as you imagine. Earl Nightingale emphasized, you don't have to do something great. Just begin doing the right thing and do it consistently. I believe that's the strongest way to overcome fear and procrastination. Do something small, but do it now. Fear is often the result of imagination. We exaggerate worst-case scenarios in our heads. We build imaginary disasters and then use them as excuses to avoid action. But action brings you back to reality. When you start, you realize, oh, it's not that hard. It's not as bad as I thought. And so you take another step and another. Successful people aren't fearless. They just keep moving despite the fear. Maybe you're telling yourself, I'm just waiting for the right time. Let me be clear. The perfect time doesn't exist. If you keep postponing while waiting for the right moment, you've already lost. Because every day you don't act is a day procrastination wins. You don't need to be brave to start. You just need to be honest. Honest enough to admit, if I don't do this, I'll regret it. And if you feel that truth inside you, then you don't need to wait any longer. You just need to begin. Here's a sad truth. Most people don't fail because they did the wrong thing. They fail because they did nothing at all. And that's the difference between someone who lives a life of purpose and someone who lives a life of what could have been. There are smart people, talented people, people with vision, but they stay stuck in their comfort zone because they let fear control them. Then there are others, not necessarily smarter, not more knowledgeable, but they dare to start. They don't wait until they're no longer afraid. They act in spite of the fear, and because of that, they move forward, while others stand still. Who do you want to be? You can keep procrastinating, keep living a life of, I'm getting ready to start, or you can face your fear and walk through it with action. Power doesn't come from perfection. It comes from doing hard things before you feel ready. And every time you act while still afraid, you train a stronger version of yourself. You tell yourself, I'm not controlled by fear. I control me. So don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for fear to disappear. Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a lie wrapped in logic. It comforts you into procrastination, then quietly steals the life you could have had. You are not a victim of fear or delay. You have a choice, and action is the only choice that leads to change. Momentum, the silent but unstoppable power of action. If you ask me what the real secret behind extraordinary success is, I wouldn't say talent, not luck, not superior intelligence. It's something much simpler yet incredibly powerful: momentum. Earl Nightingale once taught we become what we think about, but he also understood something even deeper. We move closer to what we want through repeated action, and that repetition creates an unstoppable force: momentum. Have you noticed how the beginning is always the hardest part? Pushing a car from a standstill takes more energy than keeping it moving. That's the essence of momentum. Once you shift from stillness to motion, everything becomes easier. And if you maintain that motion, you become unstoppable. Momentum doesn't show up by accident. It's built through small, repeated daily actions. You don't need to do something great right away. You just need to do what's necessary, consistently, and momentum will follow. Write one post a day and you become an author. Publish one video a week and you become a creator. Train for an hour each morning and you become an athlete. Every great result begins with an initial push and then turns into a rhythm that can't be stopped. I've seen many people fail, not because they weren't good enough, but because they couldn't sustain their motivation. They started with excitement, but gave up when they didn't see quick results. What they didn't realize is that they stepped off the path right when momentum was about to take over. Earl Nightingale often emphasized that success doesn't come from a single action. It comes from a chain of consistent actions. Momentum is the bridge between those actions. It helps you stay focused, resist distractions, and keep going even when motivation fades. Picture this. Someone goes to the gym on day one. Nothing changes. Day two, still the same. But after 30 days, there's a shift. After 90 days, the change is visible. After a year, they don't just have a different body, they have a different mindset. All thanks to momentum, a force they created through consistency. Momentum is like a powerful river. At first, it's a tiny stream, but as you keep pouring energy into it, it becomes a massive current that breaks through any obstacle. And eventually, even you will be surprised at the power you've built, simply by not giving up. The beautiful thing about momentum is it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't require you to be the best. It doesn't ask for a perfect starting point. It only asks one thing: don't stop. The world doesn't belong to the most talented. It belongs to the most consistent, to those who don't quit after the first failure, to those who keep going even when results haven't shown up yet. And those people, fueled by momentum, often surpass those who were once seen as more promising. When momentum kicks in, everything changes. You no longer struggle to get started. Each next action feels as natural as breathing. What was hard yesterday becomes easier today. You begin to enjoy the process, not just chase the outcome. Momentum has another superpower: it builds belief. Each step forward is proof that you can do it. This isn't blind faith, it's confidence backed by evidence. Because you've already done what you once thought was impossible. Want to change your life? Then stop seeking perfection. Stop waiting for inspiration. Start taking action, even the smallest one. Write one sentence. Run for 5 minutes. Make one call. Do it today. Then do it again tomorrow. And from that, you'll create something most people never have: momentum. And once you have momentum, doors begin to open. Not because they magically unlock, but because you're strong enough to push them open. You attract opportunities. You earn people's trust. You generate results that silence every excuse. Earl Nightingale understood this better than anyone. He never promised success just from positive thinking. He taught that success is the result of consistent action, powered by momentum from within. And that's the lesson you need today. You don't need motivation to act, but you do need action to create momentum. And once you have momentum, you become an unstoppable force. It's not the thinker who wins, it's the doer. We live in an age where anyone can share opinions, express dreams, and paint a picture of their ideal future. But the truth is, the world doesn't reward what you think. It only pays you for what you do. Earl Nightingale once said, "You become what you think about, if and only if you act on those thoughts." But many people forget that second part. They believe that positive thinking, reading self-help books, or listening to podcasts daily is enough. But the truth is, nothing transforms without real action. You might have the greatest ideas. You might come up with brilliant solutions, flawless strategies, or amazing projects. But if it all stays in your head, then to the world, you're no different than anyone else. Ideas are only potential. Action is what turns them into achievement. Just like a seed, no matter how valuable, won't grow into a tree unless it's planted, watered, and nurtured. Your idea, if not acted on, is just a silent dream. Want to write a book? Start with the first sentence. Want to start a business? Make the first call. Want to learn a new skill? Sign up for the course and complete the first lesson. Every great thing begins with one simple action, not with a stream of thoughts. Thinking is easy. Anyone can think. Very few dare to act. And that's what separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the builders, the ones who sit and discuss from the ones who go out and change the game. I once knew someone who always talked about opening his own coffee shop. He spoke about it for 5 years. Every time we met, he had a new idea, a new name, a new decor plan. But 5 years later, the coffee shop still only existed in his head. Meanwhile, another friend, with fewer ideas but more action, opened two small locations because the second person acted while the first just thought. Earl Nightingale emphasized that thinking only has value when it's turned into reality, and action is the only bridge that takes you from the world of thoughts into the physical world. You can read hundreds of books, but if you apply none of it, you stay exactly where you are. You can write down beautiful, inspiring goals, but if you don't start moving toward them, they're just decorations on your wall. The world doesn't pay for the plans in your mind. It doesn't reward projects that never began. It responds only to real effort, real results, no matter how small. Even a small action leaves a mark. It sends a message to the world that you're serious. It sends a signal to your mind that you're doing what's right. And each of those actions, like small bricks, will build the success you're after. Many people say, I just need more time to prepare. No, you don't need more time. You need less thinking and more doing. No one succeeds just by preparing forever. They succeed because they do, adjust, learn, and do again. Success isn't a prize for those with the best ideas. It's a reward for those who roll up their sleeves and get to work. No waiting for inspiration, no waiting for the perfect moment, no waiting to be acknowledged. You can act today or sit there and keep thinking about what you'll do someday. But remember, every day you don't act, you give someone else your spot. Someone out there is doing the very thing you're only dreaming of, and soon they'll achieve what you once hoped for because they acted while you kept thinking. Action is the confirmation of thought. It's how you turn I want to into I'm doing. And only those who act earn the right to speak about results. Don't let your intelligence get trapped in theory. Don't let your knowledge die in delay. Let it live in the work you do, in the product you create, in the words you keep, by backing them with action. If you've read this far and there's something on your mind you know you need to do, don't wait any longer. Start now. Take the first step. Do the first task. Take the first action. And let that action carve the path ahead for you. Earl Nightingale once said, every minute you delay is a minute you give someone else the opportunity. So today, don't let someone else live the dream that was meant to be yours. The world doesn't pay for ideas, it only rewards perseverance. We live in an era where ideas are celebrated. The moment someone shares a creative thought, they're immediately praised as someone with potential. But here's an uncomfortable truth: the world doesn't reward potential. It only responds to consistent action. Earl Nightingale once said, all dreams can come true if you have persistence and a clear goal. There's nothing groundbreaking in that quote, but the key word is persistence, because that's where most people fail. You can have a world-changing idea. You can have the most detailed, brilliant plan. But if you're not patient enough to work on it day after day, you'll be just like millions of others, full of ideas with no results. Think of a tree. You can't plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. Yet that's the mindset many people have. They start a project, post one video, write one chapter, and when they don't see instant results, they quit. Not because they aren't good enough, but because they aren't patient enough. Meanwhile, those who succeed truly understand every reward goes to the one who stays in the race. You don't have to win today. You just need to keep moving forward every day while others quit. Perseverance is a terrifyingly powerful skill because it doesn't need to be loud. It just needs you to keep going. Stick with something long enough and you'll surpass people who are more talented or better resourced than you, because they don't have what you have: endurance. Earl Nightingale observed this in the most successful people. He noticed they had one thing in common. They knew how to stay when others walked away. They didn't jump from one thing to the next. They picked a path and committed to it. In today's world, long-term commitment is rare. People get bored, discouraged, or switch directions the moment things get hard. But if you're truly serious about your goal, you need to master one skill: Keep going even when you don't see results. No idea, no matter how brilliant, will create success on its own. Success is born when you take that idea into the real world, repeat it, refine it, fix the mistakes, and refuse to quit. Perseverance turns potential into achievement. Why don't most people get what they want? Not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't do it long enough. Maybe you're blogging, making videos, building a brand, or launching a startup, and still seeing no results. But if you quit now, you'll never know how close you were. How many people give up just before the finish line, simply because they didn't have the patience to take one more step? The world doesn't applaud you for starting. It only remembers those who finish. No one talks about your great idea. They talk about what you built from that idea. And this is true in every field: music, art, business, education, sports. The one who finishes is the one remembered. Not the most excited starter, not the best speaker, the most persistent one. Perseverance is the ultimate proof of seriousness. When you keep going, you're telling the world, I'm not just dreaming, I'm building. And the world only respects those who stand firm. Not for a week, not for a month, but year after year. Take Thomas Edison. People remember him for the light bulb, but few talk about the thousands of failures that came before it. If he had stopped at his 10th attempt, we might still be reading by candlelight. But he didn't stop, because he understood, if I keep going, I'll get there. You may not be better than others, but you can outlast them. And that's a superpower no one can take from you. When you feel discouraged, remember, discouragement isn't a sign to quit. It's a sign that you're entering the zone of growth. Everyone feels motivated at the beginning, but only those who push through the boredom, the doubt, the silence, get to taste the reward waiting at the end. Earl Nightingale believed anyone can succeed if they know what they want and are willing to work persistently for it. A simple formula, yet 90% of people never apply because it's not easy, but it's real. Are you working towards something right now? Ask yourself, have I truly been persistent? Or did I take 10 steps and expect results that take 100? If you're serious, you need a commitment, not to the world, to yourself. I won't stop, even without results, even without recognition, even when I'm tired. I will keep going. And that, not your idea, is what will take you to places others will never reach. Action is the clear line between the successful and everyone else. In every society, in every era, there are always two types of people: those who say they'll do something, and those who actually do it. One group lives in the world of ideas, dreams, and unfinished plans. The other lives in action, results, and daily progress. And that is the quiet but unmistakable line between successful people and everyone else. Earl Nightingale once said, "No one becomes anything great just by thinking. Every achievement is the result of action." And it's true, history doesn't remember those who had great ideas. It remembers those who acted on them and left their mark. There are countless people out there with high intelligence, overflowing creativity, and big dreams. But what they lack, and what matters most, is consistent action. They don't lack potential. They lack the first step. And without action, they stay exactly where they started, while others, often less talented, move far ahead. Have you noticed that the people who achieve big things aren't usually the loudest ones? They don't talk too much about what they'll do. They just do it. And that daily action, repeated over time, creates a growing gap between them and the rest of the world. Action is something no one can do for you. You can learn from others. You can be inspired. But in the end, you must take the step yourself. No one else can build your life for you. Many people live their entire lives without ever crossing that line into action. Not because they lack ability, but because they stay on this side of the line only watching. They look across and think, I could do that too. But they never start, so they never find out how far they could have gone. Meanwhile, the successful ones are those who took action and didn't stop. They didn't begin with perfection. They began with what they had from where they were and got better along the way. They didn't wait for the ideal moment because they knew it would never come. Earl Nightingale always reminded us you don't need to see the whole bridge to take the first step. And that's the truth. The successful are not those with the clearest vision. They are the ones bold enough to move forward even when the path isn't fully visible. Action doesn't just create results, it shapes identity. Every time you do something you once feared, you become braver. Every small task you complete strengthens your belief in yourself. And over time, you don't just hit goals, you become someone new. And what about those who don't act? They change too, but not for the better. Instead of becoming stronger, they become more doubtful. Every broken promise to themselves erodes their self-belief. Eventually, procrastination stops being a habit and becomes a lifestyle. You have to ask yourself, which direction am I moving in? Am I becoming a person of action or someone stuck in thoughts? Action is the simplest and most accurate test of seriousness. Anyone can say they want success, that they want change, that they want to stand out. But very few are willing to pay the price through daily repeated action. That's why success is rare. Not because it's hard, but because few people are consistent enough to earn it. Here's a truth most don't realize: action creates separation over time. At the start, you and someone else might be on the same level, but if you act daily and they don't, in a month you've pulled ahead. In a year, you live in a different world. At that point, the gap isn't a few steps, it's an ocean. That's when the line becomes clear. Average people talk about what they'll do. Successful people show what they've already done. You don't need to be better than anyone. You don't need a revolutionary idea. You just need to show up every day and act. That's the most reliable way to cross the line, from dreamer to creator. Want to be different, then act differently. While others wait, you start. While others compare, you focus. While others doubt, you build. Success doesn't choose the one with the best excuses. It chooses the one with the clearest action. And you, if you act long enough, hard enough, and bold enough, will become someone the world can't ignore. The final truth: life doesn't change when you think differently. It changes when you act differently. You've just gone through a journey that wasn't just filled with powerful words, but a roadmap for living, a path built on one simple yet profound truth. Action is the key that opens every door. Not thoughts, not plans, not hope, but consistent, disciplined, unwavering action. You've seen it in every part of this journey. Action is the bridge between potential and reality. Power doesn't live in your mind, it lives in your hands, feet, and everything you do. Clarity doesn't come first. It only appears when you start walking. You don't need inspiration, you need discipline. Fear and procrastination are the silent killers of dreams. Momentum is the real magic. Results don't come to thinkers, they come to doers. The world only rewards perseverance, not unexecuted ideas. The line between success and average is drawn by action. Each one leads you to the same point. Your life doesn't change when you think differently. It changes when you act differently. Earl Nightingale dedicated his life to emphasizing this truth. We're not bound by circumstances. We're bound by how we respond to them. And action is how you respond to life. You can't control everything, but you can always control what you do next. That is the greatest power a human being has, and most people never use it. Maybe you failed before. Maybe you've waited too long. Maybe you've doubted yourself, delayed, or questioned your worth. But do you know what's amazing? You can begin again, right now. It doesn't matter what you thought. What matters is what you'll do next. You can act even when you're tired. You can act even when you still doubt. You can act even when you don't have all the answers. And in that action, you'll find a strength you didn't know you had. We often overestimate what we can do in a day, but underestimate what we can accomplish in a year with consistent daily effort. You don't have to make a giant leap. You just have to keep moving, one step at a time. One focused hour, one kind act, one good decision. They add up, they compound, they build your life. Life doesn't ask how much you've thought, it asks how much you've done. And when you choose action, you send a message to the universe: I'm serious, I'm ready, I'm done waiting. And then people, resources, and opportunities start shifting toward you. Because the world doesn't move on intention, it moves on execution. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start. You don't need to be special. You just need to be the one who doesn't quit. Because at the end of the day, this game isn't won by the best talker. It's won by the boldest doer. And I believe if you've made it to these final lines, there's already a fire within you. Not the kind of fire that flashes and fades, but the fire of commitment. A commitment to yourself that says, I won't live forever in potential. I will turn it into results. Earl Nightingale once said, if you work steadily toward a worthy goal each day, you live as a successful day. So choose today to be a successful day, not because of something grand, but because you started. If you're ready to step out of your comfort zone and take action, comment below with one thing you'll do today, no matter how small. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to keep walking this journey with me, building a powerful mindset, disciplined action, and real results in your life. Your future doesn't live in intention, it lives in your next action. And the best moment to act is always now.